Good evening. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I am going to get started in a moment, and I just need to let everybody on social media know that the stream is on the air right now. What's going on, Head Ninja? How are you? What's going on, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare? Glad to see you here at tonight's stream. Just need to let everybody on Facebook know that the stream is on the air. Okay, now that everybody knows that the stream is currently on the air, I want to take a moment to thank everybody for the birthday wishes for my 50th birthday. And I want to thank some of my viewers for the gifts that they gave me. And one gift I really want to share with everybody before I get into tonight's topic is a image that I got from one of my viewers, one Phobos, who gave me a sketch of Isis, and I just need to find it. Here it is. Okay, here we go. Here is the image that one Phobos made of Isis for my birthday. And I love this image so much because he's really captured the spirit of the goddess next door in this drawing. And I really want to thank him for this drawing. It was a great gift. So this was something that one Phobos did for me as a piece of art. And I'm going to be featuring this piece of art in the upcoming Isis Dark Incubus in the pinup section. And if you guys want to go out here and send a piece of fan art to me that will be featured in the next Isis John Haynes or Eastine series book, you can send that to me at my email, sjsdirectamerica at gmail.com. So if you guys want to send me a drawing, you can send it through there. And I always share my fan art with viewers. So I wanted to go out here and share that fan art with you guys before I got into tonight's show. And I want to go out here and go give you guys, again, progress reports on the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. I've already got the books edited and they're on the second draft, and I'm hoping to get them ready for eventually a start of the March 2024 for the entire start of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. And the books that are going to be a part of that 2024 catalog are Isis Dark Incubus, which is a sequel to John Haynes' Dark Succubus. And I also have John Haynes' Illuminati coming out, and I've got to talk to Mike Williams about getting the cover ready. I got to finish up the concept art. Now, Chris Crazy House gave me a suggestion that he wanted to see a homage to 1988's Action Jackson, and that's what's going to be the concept for the John Haynes Illuminati cover. So that's a cover that I'm really getting ready to put together. I got to do the concept sketch for it, but the ISIS and Esteem concepts have been sent to Bill Walko, and I'm just waiting for him to get back to me. And these books are laid out. Everything is the information's up on Amazon. So we're on our way to getting those books together. And I'm also looking to get ready to do another comic script. I'm pondering doing an adaptation of Isis Bride of Dracula as the next comic script. And that's the next one I'm hoping to put together. So I've got a lot of stuff going through the pipe. But until I start launching the 2024 books, I'm asking everybody to pick up a copy of John Haynes at Death's Store on Lulu.com and paperback, and a copy of John Haynes 1987 on Amazon and John Haynes Godbreaker. And again, I really want to thank everybody for all of the birthday wishes, and I really want to thank everybody for all of everything every gift that everybody gave me on Cash App, and every gift you guys gave me overall. So Head Ninja, I am a 50-year-old man. I mean, I am pretty old. And so that's just, I was born in 73. So I know it's a shock to a lot of people. It's even a shock to me, but I am a 50-year-old man. So I do concept art, Romero DeBost. I do concept art, and I send it to other artists. But other artists, they see books like I do. So that would, that's what I do. I commission art, but all I do is the concept art. Because when I was doing the art on the covers, people used to go out here and just roast me, and they would put my covers on lousy book cover sites. But now that I've got a few dollars together and from everybody on Patreon and PayPal, I take those donations, and what I do is I use those donations to pay for the covers. So that's something that I'm doing, and as I'm doing shows like this, and tonight's show was something that was inspired by a conversation that gboot2786 and I had on his live stream yesterday when he showed me some pictures of the MTV Video Music Awards. Glad to see you here, Curly Cutie Pie. She's a new viewer. I really I'm happy to see her here. But when I was sitting there watching the pictures that gboot2786 had presented to me as related to this whole MTV Video Music Awards, I was absolutely appalled by what I saw. And what I saw was an extremely disturbing image of Black women at this MTV Video Music Awards. And this picture, just again, absolutely disturbed me, because these are not the images of Black women that I grew up with. Again, I grew up in the 80s where Black women basically were respectable, sophisticated sisters. Even though we had the feminist movement going on, we still had sisters who had class and polish. So these sisters that I saw were completely different than the image he presented to me. Now, this was the image he presented to me of Black women at the MTV Video Music Awards. And this whole image, I was one that I found to be quite appalling, because these were women basically who looked more like prostitutes and porn stars than the sisters I grew up with. And if this is what they're presenting as the image of Black women, this is a very disturbing and appalling image of Black women that I've seen. And again, this image really is showing me how white supremacy is looking to perpetuate a culture of ratchetness in Black women by promoting these images of Black women as the social norm. Because what this image is not a reflection of many of these sisters out here that I grew up with, or their daughters, I would believe. No, when I look at this image, I see psychological warfare being presented to the Black community in the form of an image of Black women that is designed to socially engineer the idea that this is supposed to be the acceptable social norm for Black women. Now, when I look at this image again, it's one that really shows me how they're basically doing psychological warfare on the Black community, and they're doing psychological warfare on the Black community by trying to change the narrative as related to the image of the Black woman. And this is something that white supremacy has been doing ever since the days of slavery, because in the days of slavery, what they wanted to do was elevate the image of the white woman as the ultimate ideal. And as they look to elevate the image of Black women, I'm not Black women, white women, as the ultimate ideal, what they wanted to do was go out here and demonize the image of Black women. So what they wanted to do was go out here and artificially inflate the image of white women as their ideal. And the way they did that was finding ways to demonize the image of Black women by creating caricaturized images of Black women in their media. That is what the white supremacist has been doing ever since the days of slavery. And as they've been doing this since the days of slavery, they have been creating anti-Black propaganda campaigns to demonize the image of Black women in their media. And to do that, they use a series of several caricatures that you could see on a site that is called the Jim Crow Museum. And on this website, the Jim Crow Museum, you can get an education on anti-Black imagery and the impact of anti-Black imagery on the Black male and Black female mind. Now, with those images on the Jim Crow Museum, they show you the foundations of these caricatures. And this was a website I visited way back in about 2009 when I lost my job at City College. And as I lost my job, I continued to do my research. And part of this was going to this website, the Jim Crow Museum, which basically went out here and showed you the numerous caricatures like the Black Brute, the Sapphire caricature, and the Jezebel caricature. Now, these caricatures are something that they use to go out here and, again, demonize the image of Black women. And this is what they do with their media. Again, they use these stereotypes to demonize Black women. And this is what they do in their media. And I'm going to show you a picture of the Jim Crow Museum website so that you guys can get an understanding of the history of these stereotypes. And this is what is on the Jim Crow Museum website. They talk in depth about the Jezebel stereotype. And again, the Jezebel stereotype is about promoting the idea of a lascivious, sexually promiscuous woman. And the whole goal of this stereotype, again, is to demonize the image of Black women as being sexually promiscuous and just being just lewd and lascivious and just out of control as related to her sexuality. And again, this is used under fair use from the Jim Crow Museum. I want you guys to go out here and go over to this website, because this website is a wealth of information for brothers and sisters as related to these stereotypes, and it will give you a better understanding of these stereotypes and understand how these stereotypes are used to degrade the image of Black women and promote the idea that Black women are lewd, lascivious, and sexually promiscuous. That is what they want to promote as the ideal as related to Black women. So that's what they want to present in their media as related to the images of Black women. And again, this is all part of an ongoing campaign that has been going on for centuries. And this whole culture of ratchetness is something that the white supremacist wants to promote as the norm for Black women, because this is what makes the white supremacists feel comfortable in their world regarding the black female image. Because if the black female is presented as somebody who is presented as having low moral character, this takes the focus off the white female who is of low moral character, because it makes the white supremacist world smooth, knowing that there is a black female at the bottom who will present the image of sexual promiscuity, being lewd and lascivious, and even participating in sexual deviancy. And this is something that makes the white supremacist feel comfortable. So this whole culture of ratchetness does not come from us. No, it comes from the white supremacists. So whenever you look at an image like the ones that are presented in mainstream media on sites like the MTV Video Music Awards, you have to know that this is propaganda, and it's propaganda designed to socially engineer ideas in the minds of brothers and sisters, most importantly, sisters, to see an image of themselves where they believe that this whole type of behavior is the social norm. So this is, again, all about going out here and promoting an idea to young sisters. And again, this is what media does with images. Their goal is to go out here and get black girls to see themselves as less than, get them to see themselves as someone who doesn't see themselves as having worth or value. No, the whole idea of these kinds of images is designed to get you to think, oh, this is socially acceptable behavior for a black woman to go out here and dress like a prostitute and a porn star, and that this is the norm for black girls, and this is something black girls should aspire to do. And this is where we have to push back on this media, again, because this is all part of an ongoing campaign to promote a culture of ratchetness in black women. And again, this was a culture that really started way back in slavery and continued to go on even after black people were emancipated as slaves, and was promoted in mainstream media, like back in the 20s with Josephine Baker, who was the first mainstream white image of a black Jezebel in Hollywood. Now, with Josephine Baker, what they wanted to do was promote the idea of her being this kind of lewd image of a black woman. And as Hollywood went on and continued to promote their images of black women, they always tried to promote this with black actresses like Dorothy Dandridge. If you watch the movie introducing Dorothy Dandridge, you will see Halle Berry playing the role of Dorothy Dandridge, and Dorothy Dandridge willfully and intentionally going out here and promoting the idea of the lewd, lascivious black woman and perpetuating the Jezebel stereotype as the social norm. Now, Dorothy Dandridge thought that this would be able of something that she could use to elevate her career. Unfortunately, this created a paradigm of failure for Dorothy Dandridge and created a paradigm of failure as related to the black female image, as related to them thinking that this is going to elevate your image, but it's not designed to, because in the system of white supremacy, they don't want to elevate the image of a black woman as a positive thing. No, they don't want you to see black women as intelligent or black women as beautiful or attractive or desirable. And this is one of the things that they don't want to do. So they go out here and, again, downgrade the black female image with the Jezebel stereotype. And they also downgrade the black female image with the sapphire stereotype. Now, the sapphire stereotype is another stereotype that is used in anti-black imagery. And this is another image that really, again, degrades the black female image and degrades the black female image and makes black women appear to be unattractive in comparison to their white female counterparts. Now, the Sapphire character in as related to the Jim Crow Museum is talking about all about the angry, bitter black woman. And again, all about the bitter black woman who is emasculating the black man with her bad attitude. And as she emasculates the black man with her bad attitude and her big mouth, what this is designed to, again, create the idea that the black woman is unattractive because she is unpleasant to be in the presence of compared to her white female counterpart. And again, this is all designed to design the idea as related to degrading the black female image in comparison to the white female image. And again, this is something deliberately done by design. And again, the Sapphire is a Ratchet character because she does not respect the authority of the black man. She does not respect the black man as related to his leadership ability. And her job is to question the black man. Meanwhile, if she's in the presence of a white man, she will go out here and bootlick and pander to people. And as she bootlicks and panders to white people, she sees them as better. So this whole image creates a culture of ratchetness as related to how black women see themselves, but they don't really see how the white supremacist is a puppet master and how this puppet master basically is one who is out looking to degrade the image of black women and promote what they call ghetto culture. But the whole thing with ghetto culture is that it is not who we really are. No, it is us seeing ourselves through a white racist lens because a white racist needs a black person to be in a ghetto, and he needs them to be in a ghetto because if black people are in a ghetto, then he can feel comfortable about living in his smooth world in the suburbs. So what he wants to do is create anti-black images and promote a culture of ratchetness in black women. And again, this is done by design because what he wants to do is promote this as a culture. And when you do this through the black woman, you're doing this again, this woman is going to be the first teacher. And as the first teacher of her children, they're going to learn a culture of being ghetto as a social norm. And this is something that they want to promote because if black people see themselves at the bottom, they never aspire to improve their quality of life and work towards improving the quality of life at the top. And this is why we can't watch media like Yo STD Raps or whatever it's called. Again, this is like Gboot 2786 has said, and it's not the kind of content we really need to be watching on the regular. What's going on, Coffee? Glad to see you for your first live stream. Glad to see you on tonight's show. I'm talking about the rise of the culture of ratchetness in black women. And I came to that whole observation watching the media that was presented that Gboot 2786 had shown me on our Thursday night live stream regarding the images on the MTV Video Music Awards. Now, as I was watching the MTV Video Music Awards, I just saw that image. It just disturbed me to see this image, and again, disturbed me to see this image of those three black women. And while it would be easy to criticize those black women, I just realized that, I can't criticize those black women without looking at the white supremacist behind the scenes who is orchestrating this kind of media to degrade the black woman's image and get us to not see black women as attractive because, again, this is done by design. And again, done by design because what the white supremacist wants to do is orchestrate the gender war and put black men against black women. And as we look at these images of black women that I'm showing you right now, what happens is we sit there and look at these images that are of these black women like Sukihana. And again, the whole idea is to breathe brand new life into the Sapphire and the Jezebel caricatures and make us believe that the norm for young black girls is to grow up to become a Sapphire and a Jezebel. And we have to push back against these narratives that are presented on mainstream media platforms like the MTV Video Music Awards. Again, this type of media is the mainstream media presenting this as their ideal about black women. And when we look at this, and again, there's video of this woman on the floor of this carpet, twerking and shaking her backside. And most people are thinking, oh, this is just standard behavior for black women, but it is an embarrassment for our sisters to be behaving like this. I mean, this is not what I want to see reflected in a black woman as related to our sisters. No, this is not what I want to see reflected on me as a black man. And this is what most brothers don't want to see reflected in them. A adult film star presented as the norm. And that's what the MTV Video Music Awards was doing, going out here, taking the black woman's image and taking us with and presenting us with images that come straight out of the AVN Awards as the standard for black women. And what was presented here was textbook anti-black racism. And that's what we really need to understand. Again, this is all about psychological warfare on black women's minds and also psychological warfare on black men's minds, because this is how white supremacy drives the wedge between black men and black women at the gender war, because we look at these images and react to them and react to the degrading behavior that black women like Suki Hana participate in. And many of the black men start generalizing that this is the standard for black women, never really thinking critically about these images and never really thinking critically enough to the point where we go out here and really take a look at who sees this as a black woman. Because if you look at who sees these images as black women, you see who is really the one behind it. Now, shout out to Dennis Sperling for putting this up on social media, because this is something they don't promote to elevate to white women. Yes, they push this hard on us. I mean, look at this sexy red with the New York Jets owner, Woody Johnson. And again, what this image is saying is who's the one who supports this as black women. This is who sees this as a black woman. This is who believes this is the ideal for what they see as a black woman. Here you have a white, wealthy man in Woody Johnson, and out of all the black women he could have brought to the New York Jets game to stand and take a picture with, I mean, there are women out here like Zendaya and many other sisters out here like Kimberly Elise, many beautiful black women he could have easily brought to this game to take a picture with. But what he does is go out here and is standing next to this black woman, again, a plantation slave owner, because the NFL is a plantation, going out here and standing right at the side of a slave. And again, that's what this image represents, because this is what he considers to be a black woman, but they don't want to talk about who we see as a black woman. So that's what I want people to understand about this culture of ratchetness. This culture of ratchetness is something that, again, is done by design. And as time went on and we went from Dorothy Dandridge to the rise of the feminist movement, that's where we saw the ramping up of campaigns to demonize black women, because as the feminist movement was going on, black women were going out here joining up with the feminist movement, believing that there was an effort to go out here and get them the acceptance of society where they would be on the same level as white women. And this is why some look to separate from black men, because they thought, oh, I'll go out here and gain acceptance from the further white society. And they thought they would get further acceptance from white society. So they would go out here and think they can be elevated to that high position that the white woman has been elevated to. But what happened with black women is that they were basically exploited in play things like blaxploitation movies. That's why they pushed Pam Grier, and again pushed her because they wanted to push the idea of this, again, promiscuous woman who was a bit of a sapphire, a bit between the two. So that was a next escalation as related to the rise of the culture of ratchetness. And this went on until the 1980s. And thankfully, we did have Bill Cosby to push back. And we did have other black men pushing back to try to take back our image. And from the 1980s to the early 1990s, we had a golden age of black imagery. And again, it was heterosexual black men who tried to stem the tide as related to trying to protect the black female image. Unfortunately, we saw the rise of the NWA and the Two Live Crew. And with the rise of the NWA and Two Live Crew and the Hood movie, what happened is we saw white supremacy making inroads to try to continue pushing the culture of ratchetness in black women in our media. And as they went out here and started making inroads with the NWA and the Two Live Crew, we started to see more of these hyper-sexualized images of black women. Now, back in the 80s, we did have a lot of attractive, sexy black women in music videos, on shows like The Cosby Show, and in Spike Lee movies, but many of those sisters were dressed up, and they were dressed up to make a reflection of black women. That was positive. So we had a lot of black men out here looking to protect the image of black women, but the mainstream media wanted to try to, again, normalize these kinds of images of black women. And they got these sellouts like the NWA and Two Live Crew to go out here and promote sexual promiscuity among black women as the social norm. And they basically hijacked events like Freaknik and turned them into orgies. And again, that was done by design by the white supremacists because they don't see any event we have as something that we could just go to and just be regular people. No, they projected this idea that black people are lewd, lascivious, out of control, and wild, and they want to see that image. So what they do is go find them some black bootlicks who will go out here and perpetuate these stereotypes for them, and that's how they hijack our events. I mean, when I did the research on Freaknik and found out it was based on a 1980s song, Le Freak, and it was just a party made by HBCUs at the finals of semester. This was basically an event that came and went in black communities, but what happened was you got white folks who came in and got bootlicks like Luther Campbell coming in to go out here and promote the idea of lewd, lascivious, and wild, out of control black people, and a lot of folks who come from inner city areas who don't know anything about our history. They come in and they were pushing this image of black people being these wild, sexually promiscuous, or participating in an orgy, and that basically destroyed the entire narrative of Freaknik. And that's what the white supremacist wants to do, because they don't like the idea of seeing that, oh, black people can be out here and have an event where everybody's civilized, everybody has a good time, we all pack up our stuff, and there's no shootouts or violence. That was what Freaknik, was originally all about. And I urge you all to go out here and do the research on the real history of Freaknik, because again, this was another incident in, again, the rise of the culture of ratchetness that we saw in black women. That, and as we saw the rap game change, we started to see female rappers going from being lyricists who looked to compete with black men like MC Lights and Moni Loves and many others who were just great at being lyricists and always kept their clothes on, to the rise of your Little Kims and your Foxy Browns. That's what we saw with rap. And again, this was all about promoting the idea of black women being Jezebels. The whole goal of it was to change the image of black women from being intelligent to being able to create lyricism on the level of men and having a flow like men. Because if you look at many of the older rap music that features female rappers. A lot of those ladies, like Nikki D and Antoinette, they were master lyricists and again kept their clothes on and looked real fly. And a lot of guys liked them because they had great flow and great style. But as the 90s went on, we started to see a shift. And again, that shift was to again push narratives that were out here. Oh, I forgot about Roxanne, Romero Dubose. Yeah, she was another great one. And again, so many great female rappers, and we knew them because of their lyrical flow. But with Little Kim, we saw them trying to go out here and promote the idea of this whole idea of this sexually promiscuous black woman. And again, Little Kim basically was pushing that narrative because that was a life she was forced to live, but she couldn't see how the white supremacists were using her to usher in more of pushing a ratchet narrative in black women and look to go out here and push that narrative as the norm for black female behavior. Now, I saw that all through the 90s as related to rap music, and that's where I started to see it was really on the fringe as related to pushing this ratchet culture. Now, there were black women pushing back against that culture, and there are a lot of sisters saying that this was not them, but things really took a turn for the worse in 2000 when Halle Berry basically went out here and mainstreamed the idea of ratchet culture as the social norm. Halle Berry basically opened the door for the mainstreaming of ratchet culture, and she did this by going out here to try to elevate her star by starring in the movie Monsters Ball. Now, the movie Monsters Ball was made by another bootlick, Lee Daniels, and it was designed to go out here and degrade the black female image so that Lee Daniels could elevate his star. And what he wanted to do was go out here and make this movie talking about how he was going out here to create this story about black women, but the whole goal of the story was to create ratchet culture and make it mainstream. Now, Angela Bassett, Queen Latifah, and I believe Vanessa Williams were all offered the role of Letitia Musgrove, and all three of those black women went out here and refused to do that role. Angela Bassett called it the role of a prostitute, and I believe Queen Latifah and Vanessa Williams declined this role. However, Halle Berry, who was filled with ambition, what she wanted to do was elevate her star by turning her back on black women and turning her back on the black community. Now, Halle Berry was a rising star because of her popularity with black people and black directors like the Hudlin brothers, who elevated her star in films like Boomerang, and directors who elevated her star in films like Strictly Business. And a lot of folks went out here and looked to elevate her star and make her more prominent. But she wanted to be a part of mainstream Hollywood and be a part of Hollywood's A-list. So she started looking to go out here and believe she could take a risk by going out here first, going topless in the movie Swordfish, and then going out here and starring in Monsters Ball. And Monsters Ball was all a part of a white supremacist agenda, again, to push a ratchet culture in the black community. Now, before Monsters Ball, we had, again, heterosexual black men who had still managed to maintain some control over the black female image. Moreover, we had sisters looking to maintain a positive image of themselves to the point where they pushed back against films like Angel Heart by Lisa Bonet, which was designed to degrade black women. And we had sisters out here embracing black women like Claire Huxtable, aspiring to be a positive image of black womanhood. And what happened in 2001 was Halle Berry's portrayal of Letitia Musgrove basically mainstreamed the image of the ratchet black woman, because after she starred in this film and had this graphic sex scene and was rewarded with an Oscar for that film, what this did was usher in the culture of ratchetness and make it a social norm. And instead of young black girls looking to aspire to be attractive and intelligent and focus on the content of their character, they started to look to become this kind of sleazy image of a black woman, like the Black Jezebel. So this whole film was designed to be social engineering, to socially engineer the idea of a black woman being a sexually promiscuous person, being somebody who had no real care for self or love for self, and go out here and present the idea of the hypersexualized image that white supremacists want to see. Now, after Halle Berry basically mainstreamed this, and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences went out here and gave Halle Berry an Oscar, this basically validated the idea in many black women's minds that being a Jezebel was supposed to be what they were supposed to be, because if Halle Berry, an A-list star, was rewarded for playing this kind of role, they could go out here and play this kind of role in real life. And this basically changed the entire paradigm for a lot of sisters out here as related to how they saw themselves, and ushered in the foundations for the mainstreaming of the ratchet culture. Again, the ratchet culture was a fringe thing until Halle Berry mainstreamed it. And once she mainstreamed it, it became a social norm. And even worse, as the 2000s went on, what happened was we had the rise of social media. And with the rise of social media, we started to see black people coming on social media. And as many black women came on social media, what we started to see were not videos of black women talking about cooking or doing natural hair being given prominence on social media. No, what we started to see were a lot of videos of black women catfighting in fast food restaurants, going out here and twerking and shaking their backsides. That's what we saw in the early days of YouTube. I mean, in the early days of YouTube, we started to see a lot of these kinds of images. And again, this was done by design, because what the white supremacists wanted to promote was the idea that being a ratchet black woman is the norm for black women. And this was further perpetuated in many YouTube videos. And there were guys out here looking to speak against this. But unfortunately, a lot of those guys wound up getting their channels flagged and taken down, all for looking to push back against these anti-black images. Moreover, we had sites like Head Ninja talks about World Star Hip Hop presenting black women as being ratchet as the norm. And we also have, like Kevin Lips says, that we had BET, who also decided to join in on this in 2010, when I believe Bob Johnson sold BET to Viacom. And when he sold BET to Viacom, they changed their content. And again, went on to continue participating in perpetuating the culture of ratchetness. And this is what little black girls have been imbibing for over 15 years, and imbibing this content for 15 years. Stuff like World Star Hip Hop, stuff like Love and Hip Hop, like Raw 1381 has talked about, stuff like many YouTube videos. And again, this content, again, just manages to meet the YouTube community standards. I mean, everything that critiques it gets flagged and taken down in the early days of YouTube. But this was the standard as the norm and was considered to be acceptable. Meanwhile, if you were to have white females acting like this, there would be white men looking to take that content off the air, because that would really tarnish her image as the ultimate ideal. But they consider this kind of behavior to be acceptable for black women. Now, as we've gone through the 2010s, we've seen this culture of ratchetness really escalate, and we've seen it escalate as the twerking and fighting videos have gone to move on. And we've seen the rise of the IG model. We've seen the rise of many of these black women getting on OnlyFans and looking to sell themselves. And instead of us getting respectable sisters, sadly, what we're getting are women that are out here who are we can't tell the difference between them and prostitutes. Now, I talk about that in depth in my book, The Woman Crisis. And in The Woman Crisis, I talk about how the feminist indoctrinated woman, you basically can't tell the difference between her and a prostitute because her image has been so hypersexualized. And because her image is so hypersexualized, you can't really tell the difference between the two. Now, if you look at an image of a black woman from the 1940s or the 1950s, even the 1980s or the early 90s, you can tell the difference between a woman and a prostitute because of the way they dress and carry themselves. But what's happened, because the mainstream media has just basically blurred the lines, is you really can't really tell because, again, the mainstream media wants to go out here and present this as the norm. And again, this is all by design by white supremacy. They only want you to see a certain image of black women. And again, they go out of their way to present these kinds of images as the norm. And they want these images to be the standard for black women so that they won't be able to compete in the social marketplace with white women. They don't want you to see these kinds of images as the standard for white women, but they want you to see this as the norm for black women because they don't want you to compete with, they don't want white women to have to compete with sisters, so they don't want you to see respectable black women. No, they want you to see these kinds of images, and again, they look to validate those images, and that's what this whole image of Woody Johnson is all about, validating the idea in black women's minds, because with many black women, they become spellbound. They want to fit into the black box that's acceptable to white people. So what they do is go out here and take a black female, put her image right there with a white man. And as they put that image with a white man, what they do is go out here and cement the idea in a black woman's mind. This is perfectly acceptable behavior for you to participate in. And they promote these ratchets as the idea for black women. Again, this is a rise in a culture that the white supremacist wants to be perpetuated, and they want to perpetuate this narrative in the black community. Their goal with this whole narrative is, again, going to try to change the story of black women from being images of respectable girlfriends and respectable wives and being dignified and sophisticated like many of our sisters were in times like the times of Jim Crow from the 1940s to the 1950s, because back in those times, black women did push back extra hard, and they pushed back hard because they did not want to be seen as Jezebels. But sadly, as our sisters have been indoctrinated into feminism, they don't see how this whole is a campaign to destroy the black female image. Again, the whole goal is to destroy the image of black womanhood in the black woman so that she will go out here and believe that degrading yourself is normal, self-hatred is normal, because anybody who is a part of ratchet culture does not love being black. No, they aspire to be white. And that's why you see many of these women wearing the blonde hair weaves and getting the blonde dye jobs. They really want to be elevated to that position that they believe that the white woman is on. And because they believe they want to be elevated to that position that the white woman is on, they believe that they are less than because the white woman is at a higher position. But what they don't understand, it is the black man's job to elevate the black woman. And many brothers out here, we want to elevate the sisters to a high level. That is something we want to do. And it's something we want to do. And I talk about this in my book, Why 70% of black women are single. And you guys can pick up a copy of that book on Amazon.com right now in paperback and Kindle format, because what black men have been doing for years, guys like John H. Johnson, have been elevating black women. I mean, that's what the whole beauty of the week concept was all about. I mean, the whole concept of the beauty of the week in Jet magazine was something designed to elevate the idea of our sisters being attractive, our sisters being desirable. I mean, our sisters being, smart and everything. And again, go out here and show Black women as beautiful. I mean, that's something that many Black men want to do, is elevate our sisters. And that was some of the things that inspired me to try to bring it back, homage to it in the ISIS series, from bringing it back when I did with Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. And next year, I want to do it again with another pinup of the goddess next door. I want to elevate an image of Black female beauty. So that's what is coming up in Isis Dark Incubus. You guys are going to get a pinup of Isis looking good. And again, the whole goal of it is to go out here and create the idea that Black women are beautiful. And that's something Black men go out here, we try to do. But sadly, because many Black women are brainwashed by white supremacy, they believe being a ratchet is something that is acceptable because they get spellbound. They want to fit into the black box that's acceptable to white people. And because they want to fit into the black box that's acceptable to white people, what they do is go out here and think that, oh, being ratchet is associated with being Black, and ratchet and ghetto and hood culture is associated with being Black. But in actuality, being associated with ratchet and hood culture is something that white supremacy wants us to do, because they don't want to see you become like what Bill Cosby presented in The Cosby Show, showing you educated, professional, intelligent Black people who are out here and are out here and educated and professional. They don't want you to see Black people going out here and doing their thing and having a healthy family. They don't want you to see those middle-class brothers and sisters who are out here working the factory job at sometimes, or the other kind of jobs. They don't want you to see those kinds of Black people. They don't want you to see those kinds of Black folks out here. No, what they want you to see is the images that I previously showed you of the like the ones that they presented out here like this. I mean, they want you to see this as Black women, but they don't really want you to see other images of Black women. They don't really want you to see other images of Black women, like Black men like myself go out here and present. I mean, this is what I see as Black beauty with this ISIS pinup that I hired Antonio Balderi to do, that will be featured in ISIS Dark Incubus in 2024. This is what I'm trying to do with upcoming ISIS books, show you the whole beauty of Black women with my Goddess of the Weeks, what I started in Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. I do images like this because, again, I want Black people to see, positive images of Black women, because we get so many images that are demonizing Black women. And again, this is done by design by these corporations, done by design to make Black women look bad. And again, done by design because it's all about going out here and presenting images of Black women that fit white supremacy's ideal. And again, looking to present images that present white supremacy's ideal as what they want to see of Black women. They don't really want you to see extremely attractive, slender Black women who are out here looking real hot and got their self together. No, they don't want you to see that as related to Black women. This is what I did with Bill Walko last year as related to starting the Goddess of the Week pinups. I even have this as a poster on my wall of my closet. So these are the kind of images I try to present out here to elevate the image of sisters. And again, this is what I try to do to counter the culture of ratchetness by showing Black women as attractive and desirable, and try to show Black women as women who are beautiful women. And again, Black women who are out here looking stunning and beautiful, because this is who we really are, not this image that they present out here at the MTV Video Music Awards, not the images you see that are out here that they continue to perpetuate with non-Blacks like Cardi B, who try to make themselves look Black or people like Nicki Minaj. No, what they want to do is present that image as what the standard is for Black women. And that's why I try to go on SJS Direct and try to counter those images. And I try to counter those images with what I try to put on my covers. I mean, I try to do my best to try to counter these narratives because, again, what they want to do is promote this culture of ratchetness, which is just plain old white supremacy, and present that whole culture of white supremacy as the standard for Black women. They want to go out here and perpetuate this culture because if Black women are at the bottom and see themselves as ghetto, they won't look to rise to be on the same level as white women, and they won't see to elevate themselves to their own standard of beauty. No, instead of trying to make their own standard of beauty, they go and buy into white supremacy's caricatures. And again, that's what they want to do, is create caricatures of Black women so that they can feel comfortable in their own distorted rose-colored reality and feel comfortable in their rose-colored reality of what they want to see as related to Black women. Because many white women are insecure about the whole idea of being in the presence of an attractive Black woman. That was something I talked about in my screenplay, All About Marilyn, and it was one of the reasons why the Marilyn character wound up getting beat up in the first act of the screenplay, because the white female who got her job that she was working for basically was upset about her getting all of the attention. So this is something that is out here. Nobody wants to talk about how slim, attractive Black women are out here and can compete on a level and be elevated. And again, they want to promote the idea that Black men don't want to elevate Black women and promote the idea that the Black woman is unattractive as related to her attitude, unattractive as related to being desirable, unattractive as related to her personality, unattractive overall, and again, don't want us to see Black female beauty. And that is their goal with these images of ratchet Black women. They want to go out here and degrade the Black female image by promoting this as a cultural norm. And we can't allow this to be presented as the cultural norm for our sisters, because a culture of ratchetness is something that is degrading to our sisters, and it makes them unattractive not only to men but to other Black people. And again, this is something that we have to push back on. And as a publisher, I make it my goal to push back on all of this. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I go out here and I've been writing the ISIS series for over 10 years, because one of the things I want to do is show you an intelligent Black woman who is a goddess, and again, elevate our sisters to that high level and say that we have a standard for our sisters. We have a standard for the beauty of our sisters. We have a standard for Black women out here, and show how attractive our sisters are. That's what I want to do as related to countering this culture of ratchetness. I try to do it with every story that I do, whether it be the ISIS series or the Esteem series or the Spinsterella trilogy. I try to show you that there's a lot of life that our sisters are living. And again, we don't have to live in that box and try to be accepted by white people by trying to be ratchet. That was the point I made in my novel, Spellbound, with the Matilda Crowley character, that she didn't need to fit into that hood rat box and be in order to be accepted by white people and accept being in a second class position. No, she could rise to a higher level by going out here and being the Black woman she wanted to be, by going out here and creating this Black Widow goth character, which was really rooted in all of the culture of Black women that I learned about as related to our sophisticated sisters of the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. I mean, if you guys go out and look at Ebony or Jet from the 1940s and 1950s, that is the standard our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers established for Black women. I mean, these are the standards we established for ourselves, and we shouldn't go out here and settle for somebody's substandard standard. No, we should be out here establishing our own standard for ourselves. And again, this is why it's important for Black people to take control over our image, because when we control our image, we get images that go out here and elevate our beauty, elevate our sisters as attractive, elevate our sisters as desirable, elevate our sisters as women who can go out here and got it going on. That is what we do to push back on, again, the culture of ratchetness. And it's something that, again, I do and I've been doing for a decade, because the whole thing is that if you get consumed with self-hatred, it's a sad thing, and it's something that I don't want to see sisters wind up getting caught up in. And again, this is something that I talked about in one of my books, Isis the Beauty Myth. I went in depth on it. And again, I went in depth on it because I know about the damage that it does to Black women when we go out here and put these images out here that degrade Black women. Again, it does damage. And again, with the beauty myth, I was talking about how deep the self-hatred goes as related to white supremacy on Black women. And again, how that can make you not see yourself as beautiful. So, and have you to the point where you never really actualize your potential. So I understand what's happening here as related to that culture of ratchetness. And again, that culture of ratchetness is, again, about getting you to go out here and act like a stereotype, be a minstrel participating in a minstrel show, and again, giving all of these racists the kind of Black women they want to see, the loud, argumentative mammy or the argumentative sapphire. Meanwhile, the white woman is presented as demure and kind, but we've got lots of kind, demure sisters out here, and I've met a lot of really kind sisters out here. And I've had a lot of kind sisters go out here and help me out in being able to get Isis series books like Samurai Goddess to the marketplace. One sister donated some money and helped me get that book to the marketplace in 2017. Another sister helped me get John Haynes at Death's Door to the marketplace. And again, I always go out of my way to elevate the Black female image, because you see in this image, you got John Haynes protecting Death, and Death is a Black woman. And again, when you go out here and look at media like this, what this does is it makes a lot of brothers change their perception of sisters and see sisters as beautiful and attractive. And it also goes out here and gives sisters a model of how they should behave and how they should see themselves, because what we present out here is a reflection of how we see Black people. And again, we have to be the one who go out here and push back against the culture of ratchetness. And we have to push back against the culture of ratchetness, because the culture of ratchetness, again, it's something that really does damage to our sisters and does damage to our sisters' perception of self. And it's something that we really, again, have to push back against, because this kind of image, again, it does a lot of damage to especially little girls as related to their mind and how they see themselves, because as they see mostly white women going out here and being presented as the social norm as related to being the ideal for Black women, what they want to do is go out here and not think that they can be equal. No, they think that they can only be this ratchet in order to be accepted by the world. So somebody asked, Head Ninja asked about Samurai Goddess. This was the cover that I had gotten a donation to do, and it really, again, helped me out. I mean, this was the 2017 Isis series book, Samurai Goddess, where the goddess next door was taking on some kung fu killers. And again, it was a sister who helped me get that book out here. So this was the cover for Samurai Goddess. It's an action-packed book where Isis taking on kung fu killers. And I really would like to turn this one into a manga, because this one has lots of great action. But the whole idea was, again, presenting a positive image of a Black woman being on the level of a heroine like the white women are, and elevating Black women to say, you can be a heroine of your own. and you can go out here and be in a world of Black people. That's another thing that I do to push back on the culture of ratchetness, is show you that we can have our own world where we go out here and embrace and love each other. That's something I put in many of my stories. Again, I want to counter that culture of ratchetness, because we can do better than having our sisters out here looking like porn stars and prostitutes. I mean, that's not empowerment. That's not liberation. That's not elevation. No, that's not really elevation. That's something that I don't see as something positive. No, when it comes to the whole narratives as related to this media, again, it's very much about promoting anti-Black images as the social norm, and promoting the idea of Black women as, again, being in the lowest class, because this isn't even second class, because they will go out here, take the Asian woman, the Hispanic woman, even the Arab woman, and make them attractive, and the men will make sure that those images are attractive. That is something done by design, but we need to do this for Black women, because that, again, white men, when they get a hold of our sisters, what they want to do is get the worst ones out here. Head Ninja, even made Esteem attractive in her demon form, because she was inspired by actress Sally Richardson. And again, Sally Richardson was a very attractive Black woman. And I wanted to present a positive image, again, of Black women all around, even with Esteem's whole look. So that was one of the things that I wanted to do. Again, when I go out here and I'm looking at images, again, I know image has a major influence on Black people. So I always try to make sure that every image I present of Black people is a positive one, because that's what I grew up with in the 1980s. I mean, I grew up with the Cosby Show. He was out here crafting the girl next door image. I grew up with a lot of movies like Action Jackson, and I like with Carl Weathers and Vanity, and Last Dragon. So I know that sisters aren't ratchet, and the whole narrative of the culture of ratchetness, this is something that is promoted by white supremacy. And they'll sit there and say, oh, these Black women are ratchet, when in actuality, the whole image is, again, something designed by the white supremacist and designed to go out here and degrade the Black female image and degrade Black women and make them start to get an inferiority complex about themselves. What's going on, Dark Titan? Glad to see you here. Talking about the rise of the culture of ratchetness. And again, the rise of the culture of ratchetness is not something done by us. No, it's something done by white supremacists in the mainstream media. And it's designed to go out here and get Black women to start to believe, oh, in order to be a Black woman, I need to be ratchet and I need to be all ghetto. This is supposedly real, when in actuality, this is not real at all. No, this is an illusion that is being presented to you. And again, this is an illusion presented to you in images, and again, designed to get you to believe, oh, this is supposed to be how it is, when in actuality, this is not how it is at all. And again, this is why we have to have our own media, like New Black Media, because it's New Black Media like SJS Direct that go out here and give you human images of Black people, and give you images of Black people that are on the equal of a white woman. And again, that's up to us to go out here and elevate that image. That is what we are supposed to do. Because that culture of ratchetness, again, doesn't come from us, never came from us, always was rooted in white supremacy. So when you see images of Sexy Red or your Sukihana, understand these are the kind of things that the white supremacist wants you to see. This is what he wants you to see as a Black woman. This is what he wants you to see as a Black woman, as the ideal. He doesn't want you to see any Black woman as being somebody that is kind and friendly or on any sort of humanized level, and doesn't want you to see a Black woman as attractive or desirable, that's also another reason why we get a lot of these images of obese black women, or is because they don't want you to see a slim sister who is in shape. And again, don't want you to believe that, oh, it's normal for a black woman to exercise. No, she just eats all the time and gets heavy. And that's not the case at all. No, the whole goal of this media is to get you to accept putting yourself in a second best position instead of seeing yourself as first and seeing yourself with someone who looks like you. That's what they want to do with this culture of ratchetness, is say, this is supposed to be who you are. And on the side of black men, they want to tell you that you need to accept Ratchet as normal, but Ratchet isn't normal at all. No, Ratchet and ghetto are all constructs of white supremacy, because we always had excellence even when we had our own towns and our own communities. I mean, yes, there were people who were out here working class, but the whole thing is we had our own stuff, but they don't want to tell you about your own stuff. No, and they're not going to tell you about your own stuff in their media. And that's why new black media is so important, because when you watch and read new black media, you get counters to the culture of ratchetness, because while white supremacy goes out here and sees you, black women, as ratchets like this, it is heterosexual black men like myself who see black women in a different light. And because we see black women in a different light, we see black women as desirable and attractive girls next door, and women who we would consider to be our wives. We see black women as beautiful all around, but the mainstream media, some people on social media, they don't really want us to see beautiful black women. No, they don't want you to see beautiful black women, because that's bad for their business. No, they want you to see unattractive black women, because unattractive black women, they are for their business, because when black women have inferiority complexes and low self-esteem, they can go out here and sell them products. And as they sell them products like the crappy Steve Harvey books like Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, have them believing that they need to go out here and try to be like a man, which is not who they are. And again, this is what happens when you have this ratchet culture. They want to go out here and sell you that you need to be like a white woman, you need to get accepted like a white woman, or you need to be a stereotype. They don't want you to see yourself as a beautiful, attractive, and desirable woman. No, what they want to do is promote the idea that you need to put yourself in a box, and life is too short to fit in somebody else's box and be accepted by white people or anybody else. No, God made black women beautiful. God made black women desirable. God made black women to be desired by black men. But the whole thing is we have to break out of this culture of ratchetness that white supremacy wants to perpetuate, and go out here and promote our own images and narratives of ourselves. And the way we do that, again, is by embracing new black media like I do on SJS Direct, where we see sisters being respectable, sisters being desirable, sisters being attractive, sisters being kind and friendly, sisters, even though they have issues with men, knowing how to conflict resolve, not going to extremes. I mean, there's a lot we can go out here and do. Again, we don't have to accept a culture of ratchetness that tells us that a black woman is no different than a prostitute or a porn star, because that's what white supremacy wants us to see black women as, because that's what they see black women as. But we can go out here and elevate our sisters to a higher standard. And as men and stewards of the Most High, that's the job I'm trying to do, is elevate our sisters to that higher standard and say that our sisters can be better than what was presented at the MTV Video Music Awards. Our sisters can be way better than this, but we have to go out here and raise our bar. We have to raise our bar and raise our standard like our great grandmothers and grandmothers did, because our great-grandmothers and grandmothers, they understood that these images that the white supremacist presents goes out here and presents the worst image of us. So we have to go out here and present the best image of ourselves. And again, the ratchet culture cannot rise unless we allow it to rise. So we have to push back on the culture of ratchetness, and we have to push back on this culture of ratchetness and understand this does not come from us. No, it comes from the white supremacists. And the white supremacists, what they want to do is get their vision of black out there and use their vision of black to degrade and dehumanize black women. And again, they'll put these women on their shows like the BET Awards and the MTV Video Music Awards, having us look worse than porn stars on the AVN. But we have to go out here and create new black media platforms, because the old black media platforms like Ebony and Jet Johnson Publications, they've been compromised. But we have to go out here and create our own platforms to elevate our sisters and give them something to aspire to be like and something to be better than. Again, we black women can do better than being a ratchet, being better than being ghetto, being better than a hood rat, because that's what the white supremacist wants to see. But we have to say we can see ourselves as somebody better, and we can see ourselves as being graceful, being elegant, being classy. That's what I see black women as, and that's what I present in many of my stories, and that's what I saw when I was growing up as a kid with my mother and other women in my community. I mean, I saw class and style. Yes, many of these sisters were poor and on welfare, but they had dignity and class and carried themselves respectfully. And again, we can get to that standard and make that our standard, because we don't have to settle for the white supremacist substandard. We don't have to settle for being Letitia Musgrove. No, we can be Claire Huxtable. We can be Isis the goddess next door. We can be esteemed Hell's aspiring angel, or Matilda Crowley, the black goth girl. We can be what the sisters can be, what different types of black women. And again, don't have to fit into that black box that's acceptable to white people, where they want to see you being this loud, argumentative, emasculating sapphire, so that you can go out here and wind up being one of the 70% of black women are single. You don't have to settle for the culture of ratchetness. Those ratchets don't represent us. And that's why we have to, again, stand up and push back against the rise of the culture of ratchetness that they want to push on black women. And that requires black men and black women pushing back against these narratives and these images, because we see who's behind these images. Again, I'm going to show you who's behind these images again, because who's behind these images again is not us. No, who's behind these images is not us at all. No, who's behind these images? You see who supports these kinds of images. It ain't us. And that's why we got to go out here and say, this is not us. And we're not going to go out here and support any of these images, because they have a foundation in anti-black racism. Now, I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream. And before I get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, I'm asking everybody to head over to Amazon.com and pick up many of the books that I talked about in this live stream. I mean, many of the books that I talk about in the ISIS series are positive images of black women. Many of the books that I do, like Spellbound, will give you some perspective on the spellbound mindset that has black people looking to fit in the black boxes that are acceptable to white people. And many of the books that I present here, again, present positive images of black women. And you can get all those books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com by clicking that link in the chat. And you can also get positive images of black women and see a black woman treated well in my comic, John Haynes at Death's Door. You can go out here and pick up a positive story about John Haynes in his first comic. And this is available on Lulu.com by clicking the link in the chat. And if you want to pick up some of my other books in the SJS Direct 2023 catalog, like John Haynes Godbreaker and John Haynes 1987, You can find these books on Amazon.com as well. And again, we got 50 likes on the room and 60. Let's get the likes up before I go. So it would really be appreciated if you guys could put the likes up. And you could, it's also appreciated if you guys would also go out here and donate to the Cash App. I believe there was a brother who dropped a super chat. Let me go back here and scroll through it. I got Kenneth Williams. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Got another brother who gave me a super chat. Let me go through it. See, Romero Dobos, thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate all of the super chats and your support. And again, I use that money to go out here and be able to pay artists like Mike Williams to do the covers for books like John Haynes at Death's Door in 1987, and also pay artists like Antonio Baldari to do comics like John Haynes at Death's Door's comics. So again, all the money you guys give me, I go out here and I use towards developing positive images of Black people, and also lose them to push back against this culture of ratchetness. Again, this is part of my passion. This is part of my love for Black people. I want to see brothers and sisters be their very best. So that's why I wanted to talk about this culture of ratchetness and really us looking to go out here and support new Black media like SJS Direct, because all the SJS Direct books are about pushing back against this culture of ratchetness and elevating our sisters to another level. Again, the ISIS pinup you saw will be in ISIS Dark Incubus coming in 2024. And this is the type of material I produce on SJS Direct. So every book that you buy helps me to be able to change the image of Black women and fight back against this culture of ratchetness that white supremacy is trying to push. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. I really appreciate you guys taking your night to spend with me, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. Everybody have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.